Gaza City's Old Market area today. Eyewitnesses said the Israeli army told people to get out in advance. Come down, he shouts, perhaps fearing the building might collapse. Doctors in Gaza say 60 people were killed just yesterday, and the onslaught continued overnight and across today. An emaciated man is led to hospital. Now, how he came to be like this, we can't say. But we do know Israel's Prime Minister is accused of using starvation as a weapon, a war crime, which he denies. With no ceasefire yet, a plan put forward by Israel's defense minister for what would come after has prompted outrage. The relocation of 600,000 Gazans to what he calls a humanitarian city, condemned by others as a concentration camp. It has some support, though, among Israeli politicians. The UK Junior Minister for the Middle East, though, has tweeted,
appalled by Israeli Defence Minister Katz's proposal to move Gaza's population to Rafah. Palestinian territory must not be reduced. Civilians must be able to return to their communities. We need to move towards a ceasefire deal and open a pathway to lasting peace.
The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, threatening further sanctions on Israel if the war in Gaza isn't ended soon. But what do the people under bombardment for 21 months actually think?
We hope Trump will pressure Netanyahu. God willing, it happens. For a week now, they've been saying today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Thursday, as if the talk about truce and the ceasefire isn't serious.
So a peace deal, what chance?
It's certain. Trump wants to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and for that, he needs a truce here and in other places. So he might put serious pressure on Netanyahu. Trump has served Netanyahu in other areas.
And what of Israel's plans to concentrate thousands of civilians in a vast camp in Rafah?
God forbid, we won't leave Gaza. Where would we go? Our homes have been destroyed. Where are we supposed to go? We accepted tents, but where do we go after that? To Rafah? We didn't go to Rafah in the first place. I stayed in the north.
This is unnatural. This is impossible. We're not fish to be moved from one place to another. This is not possible.
Now, as ever, making all this rubble in Gaza history means America leading Israel, not following. Trump claims he's now told Hamas he'll stop Netanyahu going back to war after a ceasefire this time around. But will he?
Well, earlier for the Forecast podcast, I spoke to James Elder, UNICEF's global spokesperson. He's just returned from his 5th visit to Gaza since the war broke out on the 7th of October. I started by asking him about the situation on the ground right now in the Strip.
I was stunned to see how much worse it had got. I didn't think, I would see a population put under that much more stress. Somehow we've gone from that level of a population, a grave risk of starvation, children are starving, to water deprivation, forced water deprivation. This is purely political. This is not logistical. A child is being killed in Gaza every single hour since the horrors of October 7. So I go in hospitals and I see that every single day.
And, famine has been haunting Gaza for months now. Would you say what you're seeing suggests it's happening?
No, but I don't think it matters to Palestinians. If there is a famine, that's too late. Famine means mass deaths. Starvation, which is, a layer before, is happening. And starvation means that a child's body, its immune system is collapsing. There's already cognitive decline, which becomes irreversible in children. So children's bodies aren't waiting for some technical definition to occur. And that's what I think is so harrowing there.
The Israeli government denies that conditions in Gaza are causing malnutrition. It says it's working with international organisations to get aid through and crossing the border from Israel into Gaza. What do you make of that?
Firstly, we know we need international journalists on the ground. Secondly, I don't know from my own time, 2 decades as a humanitarian, at what point, UNICEF or the Voice of UN Workers isn't utterly impartial. And we know numerically that around 50 trucks of aid are allowed in. That's 10% of what's needed. That's 1% if you allow for the blockade beforehand. So, and Israel won't deny that.
Well, we've seen hundreds of Palestinians killed as they queue for aid being delivered by this private American-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF. And the Israel Defense Forces have rejected allegations of deliberately firing on civilians. Do you have any explanation as to why starving people are being shot?
No, I found it so harrowing, Kathy. I met a little boy who, this little guy, he's a 13-year-old boy, Abed al-Rahman. He was given money by his parents, their only money, to go and buy bread. He goes out onto the street and he saw large numbers of people moving to one of these sites. They are militarised sites. He went, there was firing, he ran, he left without a box, he left without any food aid at all. There was a tank shell fired. When I met this little guy, he had shrapnel in his stomach, he had shrapnel in his pancreas. His mum wanted a video for social media because they had a medical evacuation form, Kathy. He sat up, he held onto my arm in immense pain. This was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd had 5 meals of painkillers earlier that morning because there's a grave lack of painkillers for children. It's quite a, patriarchal society. His father was in tears because this little boy was saying, I just wanted to get food for my family. And on the final day that I left Gaza, again in this 2-week period, he died of his injuries. Every hospital bed room you're in has got 3 or 4 children with the wounds of war, and they're all utterly grotesque. And I can just picture one particular room, Kathy, and there's a little girl in their cellar, and she was 11. The bomb blast had hit her. She had her left leg amputated. She's just being dissembled. So she's sitting there. And then Yana is here. Yana was brushing her teeth when a missile struck. This little girl was paralysed from the waist down. She's 11, Kathy, and she lay there paralysed. And that's just one day. I'm bearing witness to a single day. That's what should be so harrowing.
Let's talk about the peace plan then, because Donald Trump has said that the talks on a peace deal in Gaza have been going along very well. Do you share his optimism? Do you think there is the basis potentially for a permanent peace, or just a temporary ceasefire might help?
I have to, Kathy, go with everyday people on the ground who are so desperate, who literally would say to me, we hope, but hope is not a strategy, who saw their hope blown up a dozen times in 2024.
James Elder, thank you very much.
Thank you.